It's a prison-like internment site.
Tonight, as the president sinks his own immigration bill, new confusion about reuniting the families Donald Trump ripped apart, and the Trump official with zero experience responsible for caring for separated children.
It's a whole big con job.
And is Michael Cohen about to flip on Mr. Trump?
I'll do anything to protect Mr. Trump.
Why comedian Tom Arnold says it may have already happened.
He knows that Donald Trump does not care about him. He does not care about his family, and it's over.
And All In starts right now. Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. U.S. immigration policy is in chaos tonight, thanks solely to President Donald Trump. After the humanitarian crisis he initiated, which threw every federal agency involved, from the Department of Justice to Homeland Security to Health and Human Services to now the Pentagon, into pandemonium, as over 2,000 children were, for ostensibly no reason, ripped from their parents and sent to facilities around the country, scattered to the four ends, and there are still no plans for reuniting them. Today, with a casual tweet, the president then blew up plans by congressional Republicans to try to pass an immigration bill. There's no coordination among agencies, with confusion along the border as officials try to figure out what they're supposed to do now. The only thing consistent about the president's immigration policy is, frankly, its cruelty. The Washington Post is reporting on the difficulty of reuniting children with their parents. Stay tuned, that reporter of that story will join us later. Even as Homeland Security officials claim that 500 children have been reunited since May, it's unclear how many of those children are still being detained with their families. And a new report from Time magazine reveals that U.S. Navy is preparing to build, quote, temporary and austere tent cities to house, listen to this, 25,000 immigrants, plus more camps for a possible total of 119,000 people. One local television station reporting on a site currently under consideration for this job noted the Kelso, Arkansas site's nearly 60 miles away from Pine Bluff and about 2 miles away from the Rower Relocation Center, where more than 8,000 Japanese Americans were interned between 1942 and 1945. New camps just down the road from the old Japanese internment camps. One senator who toured a tent camp that has already been set up and is operational in Tornillo, Texas, did not mince words.
Well, I think it's an internment site with tents. It's a prison-like internment site.
Meanwhile, between lying about his own policy and blaming everyone but himself, Donald Trump has been hammering on the idea that Congress must pass new immigration legislation. And then today, literally as House Republicans were working on exactly that, Trump tweeted, Republicans should stop wasting their time on immigration until after we elect more senators and congressmen women in November. Dems are just playing games, have no intention of doing anything to solve this decades-old problem. We can pass great legislation after the red wave. Republican Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen of Florida is retiring from her seat, which apparently gives her the freedom to honestly describe what it's been like working with this president.
It's such a schizoid policy making by tweets that what you say on Monday may not last till Friday. Just fear that tweet in the morning saying, oh no, how many are you going to, how many policies will you undo by the day's end? Because the day's not over. Heck, it's only, it's not even noon yet. How many times can he change his mind?
For more on what happened today on Capitol Hill, I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Robert Pittenger of North Carolina. Congressman, do you agree with your colleague? It's schizoid policy, that it's chaos. The president threw a grenade up to Capitol Hill today?
Well, I think the president has inherited a chaotic lack of leadership that has been demonstrated for several decades. And, you know, President Clinton, Mrs. Clinton, President Obama talked about the issues related to illegal immigrants coming into this country, that they've got to address it. Nobody had the courage to do anything about it.
But wait, Congressman, let me stop you right there. Am I correct that in 2013 there was a bipartisan piece of legislation that passed the Senate by a margin of 68 to 32 the president endorsed?
Yes, but
am I correct that
what the president did was
wait a second.
release.
Am I correct that the Republican Speaker of the House did not allow that to come to a floor vote, despite the fact it had majority votes?
What we do have was a catch and release policy.
But I just want to make sure that we're on the same page about the facts of the matter. In 2013, you agree there was a Senate bipartisan bill that did pass 6832.
Let's get on the same page of reality.
Wait, no, but I'm just making sure that we agree to the history here. You do agree with that, right?
History is 1997.
No, but I'm asking...
Judge Flores created this whole issue separating families.
No,
and today we have a president who's trying to address the problem. Chris, let's look at the reality of what's happened as a result of open borders and catch and release.
I just want to make sure that we're
as a result of open borders and catch and release, 15,000 people died in 2016 because of heroin overdose. That is incredible. Those are real people. I had a little girl down the street from our house. She got caught up in all of this. She's a sweet girl, played the violin in concerts.
Believe me, it is an absolute travesty. But can we just, I'm sorry, but that is horrible, and what's happening in opioids is horrible.
We have open borders that have happened to, what's happened to real families.
Okay, let's just establish, you said that no one had the courage to take it on. But I really just want to agree on the facts of the matter so we can enter in the evidence. You do acknowledge that in 2013, there was a bill that passed 6832 in the Senate. I am not making that up, correct?
Yes. Do you acknowledge that President Obama had a continual policy of catch and release?
But Congressman,
that we have open borders.
We do not have
individuals who've... There's 250,000 illegal immigrants just in Texas alone who were affected that state with 675,000 criminal acts.
Wait a second.
You know, these are real people that are being affected because of the policies of President Obama. We're trying to stop that
Congressman, you keep talking about the policies of President Obama. The President of the United States is Donald Trump.
And that's what we're trying to fix today, sir.
Okay, but what are you trying to fix? You keep saying fix. Let me ask this.
Catch and release.
Open borders. Do you think the United States currently has open borders?
Absolutely it has open borders.
Have you ever tried to cross the border, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm from Texas, son.
Yes.
Okay, I know what it's like in Texas.
Let me ask you this, Congressman. Let me ask you this, Congressman. What does the Customs and Border Protection say about family apprehensions this year versus last year? Are they up or down?
Well, they're discouraged in coming because they see a president who means business.
Are they up or down?
They are down because they see a president who means business. But what we've got to do is fix the border. 90% of all the heroin that's coming across into the United States, Chris, comes from Mexico. 15,000 people lost their lives.
That has nothing to do with the children who are currently... The heroin, sir, is not coming from 11-year-old Honduran children who are being taken across the river with their mother.
Chris, I have 10 grandchildren. These kids are precious. I had one of my grandkids, 9-year-old boy, in Washington with me today.
That's wonderful.
Precious child, okay?
That's great. I'm glad he was with you.
Yes, sir. I am too. But those children are a result of families wanting to come to this country.
Correct.
If you come to this country and you cross illegally, then you're responsible to our laws. We're a country that has the rule of law.
You think they should be separated?
No, there's a bad ruling by a judge in 1997.
No, the ruling does not require it. Let me ask you this. You just said rule of law. I want to ask you one last question here. Do you know what the federal penalty, what class of crime it is for first-time illegal entry, which is what 91% of these people are being prosecuted for?
It's a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor. Let me ask you this. Do you know what the federal class of crime it is to materially omit information on your SF-86 is?
I don't have that, but what I do know...
I can tell you, Congressman, is a felony. So can I ask you this? If you believe in the rule of law... Congressman, if you believe in the rule of law... Congressman,
my daughter was hit by a drunk driver, a Latino who came across from Mexico, came sailing through a red light and hit my daughter. If I hadn't been in a position to buy her a very safe, good car, my daughter would have been seriously hurt or worse. Okay? This was an illegal immigrant who was totally inebriated, who had come across our border. We need to protect and secure our country. Thank God for a president who gets it. Nobody else preceding him had the guts and the courage to jump in where the sharks are. And he knows that you and others are going after him every day because he's in an area that nobody wants to get into. It is not an easy issue to resolve.
It has been taken up, Congressman.
Okay,
Congressman, thank you for that. The history of the fact of the matter is that George W. Bush and Barack Obama tried to sign comprehensive immigration reform. I appreciate your time and condolences on your recent primary defeat.
Through the leadership of this president.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For more on the chaos stemming from the Trump family separation policy, I'm joined by Lee Gallant, who's been fighting family separation in the courts as the deputy director of the ACLU's Immigrant Rights Project, and attorney Natalia Cornelio, director of the Criminal Justice Reform Program at the Texas Civil Rights Project. All right. Where do things stand right now? You guys have attorneys on the front line of child separation right now. The first question is, has it stopped on the front line of the processing? Are they no longer doing the separations?
It appears that they are no longer doing separations.
That's good.
As of today.
Yes. So as of today, that part of it is not happening.
I believe so.
Okay. Now, the second part, you were in court today before a federal judge about your suit, and you're trying, what is your lawsuit trying to do at this point?
Yeah. What we told the judge today was, and I said, we need an injunction very quickly to reunite the 2,300 kids who are still separated. And I asked for if he would issue that injunction tonight because the children are suffering every day. He unfortunately has asked for more briefing, but we remain hopeful. But I want to make one thing clear. The separations may have stopped today for a little bit. We don't actually think the executive order means we don't need an injunction to stop separations going forward. And the reason is because there are explicit loopholes in the executive order. So we have asked the judge to continue with our case, to lay down constitutional standards for when separation can occur in the future. But the immediate problem is getting these little children back to their parents.
Did you talk in federal court today about the reunification process? And what did the federal government say in a court of law about what their plan is?
Yeah, so this is the first time they've had to talk on the record in a formal setting. The judge pointedly said, what's the strategy? What's the plan for getting these kids back? The lawyer said, there is no plan. We're just going to do what we've continued to do.
No plan?
No plan.
What are you finding as you attempt with your clients to get people reunited with their kids?
That there's no plan. I mean, that this is chaos resulting from an irresponsible, abrupt decision to separate parents from their children. It's unprecedented, and the people that have been separated from their children, these parents, they have no right to an attorney. So one of the things that we've been scrambling to do is get them a lawyer so that they can have help in their immigration case and in finding their child, being reunified with them. But that's not an automatic process that is given to these parents that were separated from their children. I mean, this is, the government had no plans to reunify these parents. There's no infrastructure in place for them to be reunified.
Is that clear to both of you that the government, I mean, they had plans to do this. We know that. We had a memo back from a year ago, right? They had plans to do family separation. They had plans for the capacity. They started putting out RFPs for contracts, right? I mean, they had to have beds for them. Is it clear to you they had zero plans to reunite?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think you're hitting the right point. This is not really a bureaucratic snafu. This was an intentional plan to separate and purposely no plan to reunite. And so
really? You really think that?
Oh, I think, well, I don't mean necessarily permanent separation, but no plan for immediate reunification. So now, when they claim they're ending family separation, of course there's no plan to reunite because they never really have. When I say no plan to reunite and no sort of strategy for doing it quickly, now that we see how much harm these children are suffering. You know, well,
No, I also want to know what happens next, right? So there's the question about how to reunite these parents, their families. You're working on that. What happens going forward? They want to get out of Flores so they can do family detention, maybe put 20,000 people in Navy bases and tent camps. Like, is that going to happen?
I certainly hope not. I mean, it's absolutely absurd to think that the federal government is, to know that the federal government is asking that parents and children, innocent children, be locked up in facilities that have no requirements to meet under state regulations for detaining a child. That's what the government's asked for these families to be detained together moving forward, and that they not have any licensing requirements, meet any standards, permits, nothing, just do it.
Right, and so one other thing I said to the judge is, we need the government to submit a list of every parent and child has been separated, and for the government to immediately, within 1 week, tell the parents how to contact their children. I mean, that's the most horrendous thing. The parents don't even know where the children are.
And you're asking a court to rule and make that requirement.
We have to. I mean,
because in the absence, the government's not doing it.
Absolutely.
All right, Legal Alert and Natalia Cornello, thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you.
I should mention Legal Alert was just a guest on our new podcast, Why Is This Happening?, where we talk in depth about that ACLU lawsuit on the family separation policy. You can find that in our most recent episode with Naomi Klein, wherever you get your podcasts. Ahead, comedian Tom Arnold says Michael Cohen might flip on the President of the United States. An explanation of that bizarre headline's coming up tonight. Meet the man President Trump put in charge of the thousands of children the government took into custody and who apparently has no plans in place on how to reunite them with their parents. That's in 2 minutes. As we were just discussing, the government does not appear to have a plan to keep track of, let alone reunite the families they've torn apart. The Washington Post highlights one legal organization, that's the Texas Civil Rights Project, which is representing more than 300 parents and has been able to track down only 2 children. The government agency at the center of this issue is the Office of Refugee Resettlement, a division within the Department of Health and Human Services. And Scott Lloyd, the person running this agency charged with resettling refugees, has practically no experience resettling refugees. But he is pretty good at pushing his own version of beliefs on people. Lloyd wrote a memo last year explaining why he was against letting a teenager under his care who said her pregnancy was a result of a rape, why he wanted her not to get an abortion. We cannot be a place of refuge while we are at the same time a place of violence. We have to choose, and we ought to choose to protect life rather than to destroy it. Joining me now, the person who headed up the Office of Refugee Resettlement under the Obama administration, Bob Kerrey, who had decades of experience managing refugees issues. Okay, does ORR have the capacity to do what they need to do, which is to match across agencies 2,600 children in their custody with their parents?
You know, over time, that can be achieved. What is clear is that there was no prior planning. ORR was not the architect of this policy change, and the business of that office is to reunite primarily adolescents with sponsors, usually family members in the United States. You're used to serving traumatized young people, but not people who've been traumatized by their own government.
They're also used to serving people who are like verbal and can speak for themselves, and, you know, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. I mean, this is a population of 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, in the cases 8 months, 9 months, 12 months. That makes a big difference.
They can't articulate their needs. They can't, you know, they're traumatized. They've been separated horrifically from parents they've never been apart from, most likely. They can't communicate their needs. They're being flown or bused across the country. So, you know, they're deeply, permanently traumatized kids. And this is, you know, for the people who are working with them, they didn't go into this work to be a part of this process. No.
You're saying at ORR?
At ORR. No, these are social workers who went into this work because they care deeply about the welfare of children and refugees and migrants.
I want to bring in Kevin Seif. He's Latin America correspondent for the Washington Post, who wrote that piece today on the chaotic effort to reunite immigrant parents with their separated kids. Kevin, it looks like Politico is breaking a story now that HHS has just put together a task force on reunification, literally just published a few minutes ago, so I don't know if you've seen it. And it's going to be run out of the undersecretary there, or the deputy secretary, who does essentially emergency management. They're kind of tasking their emergency teams. That's the first concrete step we've seen from the agency to do anything, right?
Right. I mean, to date, it's just been a total black hole. So, I mean, attorneys have been calling a toll-free number, which has been distributed to some of the detainees, some of the detained parents. When you call that number, you wait sometimes for over an hour, sometimes no one answers. When they do answer, you get almost no information. Often lawyers are just told that the detainee's child is in the United States somewhere. The effort to find information for the detainees who have lawyers, and again, not all detainees have lawyers, is just incredibly, incredibly difficult.
Do you think, I mean, does this have to, if you were in government right now, what would you be doing? Like, what needs to happen to have this happen quickly?
Well, you need to move quickly. You need to coordinate among different federal agencies, which clearly did not happen when this policy was changed. You know, they were not prepared to intake small children and have systems in place to ensure that they could be reunited quickly with their parents. That should have been part of a pre-planning effort if this policy was vetted through the different branches of government in advance, which clearly was not the case.
It also seems to me that if you have to coordinate between agencies, then you have to have the White House really taking a leadership role on this. It's the White House and the president and his chief of staff and his cabinet secretary who have to be invested in reuniting these kids, or it's not going to happen.
Exactly. Yes, it requires leadership from the top, which
because interagency stuff is messy.
It's very messy. It's very messy, and it requires a lot of will to make it happen, and that will usually comes from leadership at the top, or it doesn't happen.
Do you think, Kevin, in the cases where they have been successful, how has that success happened?
I mean, as far as I know, I mean, I talked to lawyers yesterday that represent over 400 parents of detained children. And as you said, only two of those cases have the attorneys even been able to locate the children, let alone reunify. So, I mean, I'm not hearing too many success stories, frankly. I mean, what I'm hearing more of are cases of parents who have already been deported, whose children remain in the United States, often remain in parts of the United States that they don't even know exactly where the children are. So I'm hearing far more failures than I am success stories. I don't know how to explain the families that have been reunified, frankly. And I also haven't seen too much reporting on that. I know there was an announcement from DHS saying that they've reunified a certain number of families, but I mean, where are the details of those reunifications?
You know, there are two competing interests here. You're dealing with minors, so there's a privacy interest, and I get that. But this has been a black hole from the beginning for us reporters, for the public, even for elected members of Congress. It seems to me transparency is actually the friend of the agencies at this point if they actually want to reunite.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, it's important to maintain the privacy and security of children, but it's also important to be transparent. And when I was at ORR, we did frequently have tours of facilities available by appointment to journalists and congressional representatives, and maintained an open door policy with that regard. I think that's concerning. It's important that, you know, the care of children and small, vulnerable, traumatized children is of paramount concern, and systems and oversight is critical to be part of that.
Bob Kerrey, Kevin Seif, thanks for joining us. After the break, the president's personal attorney learning that to Donald Trump, loyalty only runs one way.
Recently, I found that when I ask friends or family to subscribe to my YouTube channel, they start making these sorts of noises. Oh, I would, but I don't have, I'm not on YouTube I'll do it tomorrow, yeah? But then I've explained to them what subscribing actually means, and then they've been like, oh, is that it? Oh, well, in that case, subscribed. So it's become clear to me that a lot of people don't know what a YouTube channel actually is, why you should subscribe to one, and what happens if you actually do subscribe. So I thought I'd answer those and some other related questions in this video that I'm calling, What Does Subscribe Mean? So, to start us off, what is a YouTube channel? A YouTube channel is simply a page where a person can keep all their videos together in one place. Think of it kind of like a TV channel or like a mini homepage for each YouTuber. It's a place where you can learn about them, catch their latest videos, and also see all the old videos they made as well. Why should I subscribe to someone's channel? The main reason you should subscribe to someone's YouTube channel is because you like the videos they make and are likely to want to see more videos from them in the future. Subscribing is like creating a favourite or a bookmark against that channel so it's easy to find again. It's very similar to following someone on Instagram or Twitter. It's just like saying, I want to hear more from this person. However, even if you don't visit YouTube that often, but you see someone's video that you like, you may choose to still subscribe to their channel as a sort of show of support. The subscribe button can be used as a kind of keep up the good work kind of button. Which leads me on to, how do I subscribe to a YouTube channel? To subscribe to someone's YouTube channel, you'll need the following two things. 1, a Google account, and 2, the ability to press a button. You'll already have a Google account if you use things like Gmail or Google Calendar, or if you've ever downloaded an app to an Android device. A lot of my friends and family thought you had to have a specific YouTube account to be able to subscribe to someone, but that is not the case. Once you're logged into that Google account, you just hit the red subscribe button and you're done. What happens when I click subscribe? Once you've subscribed to a YouTube channel, that channel will appear in your subscriptions list here, so you can see all the channels you've subscribed to in the past, and here in the subscriptions tab, so you can see all the latest videos from the channels you've subscribed to. And that's all that happens when you press subscribe. But to clear up some more specific thoughts or concerns my friends and family had, the YouTuber does not earn money from every person that subscribes, so this, as much as I would like it to, definitely doesn't happen. There's another subscriber. And another one. Just 10 more, come on. Daddy needs a new Rolex. You won't be spammed with constant emails or notifications about the channels you've subscribed to, so this also won't happen. Oh, new email. Subject, Ali has uploaded a new video. Oh, okay, I'll watch that later on. Then, oh, okay, another one. Subject, why haven't you watched Ali's video yet? Oh, that's creepy. How did they... Oh, go on, click it. Well, yeah, okay, I'll watch the video or the cat dies. What? And you can unsubscribe at any point on any channel just by clicking the subscribe button again. So this definitely won't happen. I'm not really sure I'm feeling these videos anymore. Let me just go and unsubscribe.
You tried to unsubscribe. You clearly didn't read the terms and conditions. Now I own your soul.
So that's it. Hopefully that's helped to clear up some confusion about what it means to subscribe to a YouTube channel and what a YouTube channel even is in the first place. And now it's all cleared up, if you've not done so already, why not go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking that big red, totally not scary anymore button. Oh, look how fluffy it is. How can you be scared of it? Just go click it and show me some support for the videos I make. I'm going really high-pitched. I don't know why. Also, leave me a comment below this video telling me whether this was useful or stuff you already knew, or if there's anything else you'd like cleared up about YouTube channels or subscribing or that whole jazz. And I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye!